Hi, this is Marty, and welcome back for another video. So in keeping with my attempt to make videos short, like I'm not doing too good at it, but I'm going to do this one quick and we'll get right to it. All right. I had a call from a client, and the question basically was glycolic acid, lactic acid, salicylic acid, when to use it on darker skin types, which one was stronger or which one is stronger, and a little refresher on percentage versus pH as it relates to these type of acids. So first off, let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so these are AHAs, okay, alpha hydroxy acid, and this is alpha hydroxy acid, and BHA, beta hydroxy acid. Okay, yeah, I blew that, didn't I? All right, let's do that. Okay, beta hydroxy acid. There we go. All right. Starting off with, okay, so we have the Fitzpatrick scale. Everything starts with that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the large scale. And then if you see my other video or have taken any education from me or listened to me, and this isn't grandstanding, I really did come up with this. It's taking the Fitzpatrick scale and moving it into a smaller scale, which is 1, 2, and 3. And the reason I did that is because the Fitzpatrick scale 1 through 6, it just brings, in my opinion, it's unnecessary, and it's much easier when you're considering post-peel complications, pre-peel, and always leaving yourself a little bit of room of flexibility and not going as deep or as strong as you should. The small scale 1, 2, and 3 gives you a better and more workable plan as far as I'm concerned, and is much less confusing. So if you haven't seen that video, please look at that because I explain it, because it matters here. All right. Which acid out of the 3 is the strongest? Glycolic acid, written in order, then lactic acid, then salicylic acid. When should you choose one over the other? Very simple. If you're dealing with acne, go with salicylic acid. If you are dealing with Fitzpatrick small scale 1 or 3, and there is no at-home protocol, meaning the client is not using glycolic acid or any AHA or BHA, so that you can understand the client's experience level and what and how their skin is reacting to the use of the glycolic of the acid, you would want 1 and 3, go with lactic acid. If there's acne, straight across the board, 1, 2, and 3, no problem. Glycolic acid is the strongest of the superficial acids, and as it relates to that, we now come to percentage versus pH. All right. Okay. So what you need to remember with regards to percentage or pH is the lower the pH, the stronger the acid, bar none, straight across the board. The problem is when you look at glycolic acid and or really any acid, and you see the percentages 10, 20, or 30%, but you see an ultra low pH in the 2 to 2.5 range, the reason that's a bad thing, or that you shouldn't look to that, is because glycolic acid at 10, 20, or 30% cannot produce that pH. You see, because if you have 100% volume of a liquid and you apply 10, 20, or 30%, the water or the other ingredients that are making up the total volume cannot, on average, bring down that pH. So what happens is, when you tell the chemist or the liquid, I want you to be at a certain pH, but I'm only giving you 10% glycolic acid, you are adding another acid which you don't want to use to bring down the pH. You want to go with a higher, like a 40 or 50% glycolic acid, which is going to give you a natural pH of, say, 2.0, give or take. And there's always a range of pH. It's never static and solid. It's always a range. All right. With that being said, when I used to educate, or even when I educate now, like what I'm doing now, okay, I say percentage is important, but as it relates to the strength of the acid, always look to pH first. So no matter what the ingredients are, if you have a pH of a glycolic, lactic, or salicylic acid, and it's at 2.0, it's going to be stronger. And as you venture from 2 to 1, you want to be more careful. If you are fearful of using any of these acids on 1 or 3, because no one's afraid of 3, 4 on the large scale or 2. It's like my skin type. 5 minutes glycolic acid, 50%, 1.0. I'm not going to have a problem. And most on the 3, 4 large scale or 2 on the small scale don't. But as you venture to the 1 or to the 3, and you're looking at glycolic acid or lactic acid and you're uncertain, always go for the lactic acid, or prescribe home protocol and postpone the chemical peel, which is advantageous on both ways as far as pre-peeling the skin and giving you and the client enough information about how they feel about the use of an exfoliating acid. So, as it relates to percentage and pH, oh, and something else I want to mention. In a lot of my videos, I pause, and the reason I pause and they take so long is because there's so much information that I want to give you that I'm not giving. And meaning, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, because I'm not being like detailed like this, you know, in chronological order, I'm like going from here and then back to here and then back to there, go get more education. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's the truth. Just, you're not educated enough. Just go get more education or send me an email or comment so I can give it to you. I'm not trying to be rude. It's the truth. Okay. Or disrespectful, but it's the truth. Okay. So, as it relates to percentage and pH, glycolic, lactic, or salicylic, as you're on the small scale, okay, pay attention to the pH and choose a pH that's 2.5 to 3.5. Don't go any lower than that. Stick with the percentage of glycolic acids that are 30, 35% or higher, and modulate your minutes on this between 2 and 5 minutes. Okay, so to recap the whole thing, okay, very quickly. Nervous about going to 1 or 3, go with lactic acid. Any acne here, go with salicylic acid. Side note, salicylic acid is self-neutralizing. Do not pay attention to that claim. With AHAs and BHAs, always neutralize with a post-peel neutralizer. Don't ever let the acid sit or let the client walk out without neutralizing and stopping the chemical action of the peel, period. I do not hold any information to myself and or truth to the salicylic acid being self-neutralizing. I don't pay attention to it. I just don't. That's another topic. Well, actually, it's a pretty easy topic. I've never had anyone tell me, give me any information on the chemical nature of salicylic acid being a BHA and not a protein coagulator like trichloroacetic acid and or resorcinol or Jesner type chemical peels that are coat dependent instead of glycolic, lactic, and salicylic, which are time dependent, and tell me why and how salicylic acid is self-neutralizing. I've never seen it, never read it, and no one's been able to tell me how that works. So neutralize it just like you would glycolic acid and lactic acid. So back to my point, Fitzpatrick Scale 2, going to 1, going to 3, lactic acid, unless you trust the client as it relates to what they're doing at home. Any acne, always. All 3, you see acne. Can you treat acne with glycolic acid? You can, but then you deal with post-peel complications as it relates to 1 and 3. 2 will always pretty much be fine if you're a responsible skincare professional. I already talked about the pH as it relates to all of these. And what is your last but not least identifier or tool to use as it relates to post-peel complications when you get involved in treating type 1s and type 3s on the small scale with the Fitzpatrick scale? Your minutes. If you can't apply a chemical acid in 60 seconds and neutralize in under 3 minutes, that whole process from start of forehead, application, all the way to neutralization in 2 to 3 minutes, that is a tool that you must perfect. And the reason why is because there are unknowns as it relates to the darker skin types and as it relates to the more you know, albino, blue eyes, blonde hair, just, you know, do not tan, lobster red, that kind of thing. So this is a very useful tool as it relates to being able to modulate how deep that peel is going to go. And what I'd like to end the video on is this. These are all superficial peels. You will not see any protein coagulation. They are all time dependent. You should never be peeling past 5 to 7 minutes. There's just no reason to do that. 5 minutes is normally the marker. And again, I've done chemical peels with all of these with glycolic acid 70% 1.0 with from 1, 2, and 3 in the small scale. And how do I do that? I modulate it with the minutes, and I have prior experience with the client, no matter where they are on the Fitzpatrick scale, knowing how they react and how they are at following my instructions. Okay? I hope that gives an idea. I think I basically covered everything very quickly, and I'm talking extremely fast because I want these videos to get a lot shorter. And that's it. So if you have comments, post them. I don't get many, but I wish I did. And or email directly. And if you obviously know me, you might have my cell phone number. So this is Marty with Skincare Science, and this is a small overview on the small scale Fitzpatrick scale as it relates to percentage and pH with glycolic acid, lactic acid, and salicylic acid. We'll see you in the next video.